Alright, so today's video is another short review video, and this video is going to be about this new lens that I just bought and came in the mail. And what lens is that, might you ask? Well, it's the Canon 15 to 45mm lens, the kit lens that comes with the EOS M50 typically. And I want to explain to you why I decided to buy this lens, because the one that I'm currently filming on actually is broken. You might not be able to tell, there might be some fuzzy parts in the corners. Long story short, it doesn't zoom, it stays at 15mm. So let's get on with this, but first let's put the new lens on and get to it. So before we continue with this video and this review and explanation as to why I bought this lens, let me first tell you why I had to get a new lens in the first place for vlogging. So I was in Vietnam with Paulie, and we were, going around city to city, and it was probably like our 10th or 11th day. We were more than halfway done with our trip, and I'm running around one morning, it's sunrise, I'm trying to get sunrise photos. I'm rushing back to the hotel because we had to catch a bus and yada yada yada, get to where we had to be. And I'm rushing to get some B-roll footage, and I'm hooking the camera onto my gimbal, and I didn't put the plate on properly. And then I picked the gimbal up, I'm shooting a shot, and the next thing I know is the camera just topples over the front of the gimbal. The lens barrel is of course extended because the lens was not in a locked position, and the barrel just popped forward. I was able to snap it down, which I probably shouldn't have done, but in my eyes the lens was broken anyway, so I might as well just try anything I can. And it got it down, and I was able to shoot at 15mm, but there's some fuzzy, blurry corners while shooting video and stills, especially stills for whatever odd reason. And then it couldn't zoom. It was stuck on 15 to 18mm. So that sucked. That was broken for the rest of the trip. I did not have the funds to buy another lens on the trip, and yeah, that was that. So that was terrible. And before we get started, I do want to say this video is not sponsored by anybody. It's not sponsored by Canon. I don't know if I have to say that. For some weird reason I feel like I do. If I don't, oh well, covering my bases. It's not sponsored. Bought this lens with my own cash. Let's move on. So there is a couple reasons why I went with this lens over something like the 11-22mm. I was even considering getting just the 22mm prime to vlog with and shoot B-roll with, but I decided against that. So I'll tell you a few reasons. And the first one being, this thing is puny. It weighs like a feather. It is so super duper tiny. I'm not gonna give you some crazy tech specs, but the thing is puny. It fits in like a pocket, a jacket pocket. You can throw it around anywhere in your bag. It's light, which means it's not like metal. It obviously breaks relatively easily. I mean, it took a pretty hard fall onto concrete, so I don't blame the lens for breaking. Plus it landed at an angle on the barrel. It like happened in slow motion when I saw it. It was horrible. But anyway, this thing's puny. So while thinking about if I should buy this lens again, I was thinking back to my trip to Vietnam. And in Vietnam, I didn't bring any of my Nikon gear. I only brought the Canon EOS M50 with this lens, the 15 to 45, and then also the 50mm 1.8 that I made a review on recently. You can go check that out. Anyway, this lens I used for 90% of the stills that I shot in Vietnam. And personally, I love the stills that I shot in Vietnam. For me personally, I was blown away by the quality that this camera can produce. And I know that sounds terrible because I own the camera, but really just seeing things from a whole new perspective, shooting with a tiny little mirrorless camera with a kit lens, and what newer cameras can do nowadays. It's really, really, truly impressive. And I was just blown away at the quality of the photos that came out of this lens. And thinking back to that, I'm like, wow, that's amazing. Because I would take this lens out to shoot like street photography during the day. I'd be running around, and this, the lens is light with the tiny camera, and I'd just sit on the table, have a cup of coffee, go back out, shoot some more, shoot some video if I wanted to. But while I was shooting stills, it was really comfortable, and it was tiny and didn't attract a lot of attention. And I was honestly very happy with the results. switch lenses and considered switching lenses was because I wanted a faster lens. I wanted a lens that can go to like f2 at least, if not 1.8, and still go wide, like, you know, 15 millimeters or 18 millimeters. But in the end, it wasn't a deal breaker for me because I mostly vlog outdoors anyway, and if I were to ever shoot anything inside, I would more than likely set up some lights, so I wouldn't really need the wide open aperture. So wasn't a deal breaker in the end, though I still do wish this lens was slightly faster, but it's not a deal breaker. That being said, I do wish it was faster for shooting stills. Now when I was shooting stills, especially as the sun started going down, I do wish I had a faster aperture. But as far as vlogging goes and making videos, don't necessarily need the wider aperture just yet. On the crop factor camera, it has an equivalent of about 24 to 70 millimeters. And that is a pretty standard focal length, one that most people are really familiar with, especially if you're a photographer. I know that was my go-to lens for weddings for the most part. I love shooting the 70 to 200, but the 24 to 70 is like the Swiss Army knife for weddings. It can do everything for you and anything. If you could only bring one lens to a wedding, that would be it. So this focal length is really familiar, and it's a really versatile one. You can get pretty decently wide and also get a nice, you know, portrait style look when you zoom in. Some people don't like these kinds of lenses because they're too small in their eyes. They need a big lens because a big lens means they're a professional photographer, a professional vlogger. Big lens doesn't mean that. Just know what you're doing, know how to use your equipment, and use it properly. That's one of the most overstated things ever in photography and in YouTube. Just know what you're doing. So I like this lens because it's tiny. I don't need to prove anything because I have big lenses, and honestly, I like carrying this lens around significantly more than I like carrying around my D750 with the 70 to 200 zoom lens, and I can only hope they don't see like a bear or a coyote that's gonna come running out of the woods and just maul my face off. But I mean, if it does. So as I stated earlier, this lens is incredibly small and incredibly light. That being said, it's probably built a little bit cheaper than some of the higher end lenses and more expensive pieces of glass. But that being said, just take care of your equipment, everyone. I was careless and I dropped and broke my lens. I wasn't paying attention, I was rushing. I should have made sure that it was secured into the quick release plate before I picked the gimbal up and started running around and shooting. That's my own fault. Totally take blame for that. But life happens and we move on. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it. I like showcasing the footage that I was able to capture using this lens, as well as some of the stills that I was able to create using this lens, and showing how versatile it can be if you use it properly and how you'd like to use it personally. That being said, if you like what you saw, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. It would mean a lot to me. I have a bunch of content planned, a bunch of stuff coming up. Stuff like this, you know, reviews and tech and lens and all that fun stuff, as well as travel related stuff and just more vlog style stuff. So stay tuned for that. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. I do my absolute best at getting back to all the comments that I receive. And other than that, if you want to check out the equipment used in this video, such as the Canon EOS M50, the Rode Video Micro, the Canon 15 to 45mm kit lens, the lens that this video is about, I will have a bunch of links down in the description below. They are affiliate links, so I just think I have to let you know that. They're affiliate links. Everything will be down there. If you want to check it out, feel free. Other than that, I'm going to go inside, make some dinner, and get some rest. I will see you guys on the next one. I'm getting eaten alive by gnats. It's so horrible. I just want to film a video, man. Stop biting me. Stop freaking biting me, man.